here to help. Of course. A sound plan. Certainly. For honor. Of course. Certainly. You are past redemption. I stand for the light. Of course. Certainly. A sound plan. For honor. Justice is come. A sound plan. Is there danger? Certainly. A sound plan. For honor. Of course. A sound plan. For honor. Of course. A sound plan. For honor. A sound plan. Of course. The light is my strength. For honor. Of course. Certainly. A sound plan. Is there danger? Of course. Certainly. For honor. A sound plan. Certainly. Righto. A sound plan. Certainly. For honor. I stand for the light. Is there danger? Certainly. For honor. A sound plan. Of course. A sound plan. Of course. For honor. Certainly. For honor. A sound plan. Of course. A sound plan. For honor. A sound plan. Certainly. Of course. Certainly. A sound plan. Of course. A sound plan. For honor. A sound plan. Certainly. Of course. For honor. A sound plan. For honor. Of course. Certainly. Of course. You are past redemption. I stand for the light. I'm here to help. For honor. For my father, the king. I stand for the light. Is there danger? Of course. Foul name. I'm here to help. The light is my strength. I stand for the light. Justice shall be done. Certainly. A sound plan. I stand for the light. For honor. Certainly. For honor. Certainly. For honor. A sound plan. Of course. Certainly. Of course. A sound plan. You are past redemption. I'm here to help. Of course. A sound plan. Certainly. Of course. Certainly. A sound plan. Certainly. For honor. Of course. A sound plan. Of course. For honor. Certainly. For honor. Of course. Certainly. Of course. Certainly. I stand for the light, for honor. Justice shall be done. Certainly. Of course. For honor. The light is my strength. Of course. A sound plan. Of course. For honor. Certainly. For honor.
For Kalimdor.
Is there danger? Of course. Certainly. Justice shall be done. For honor. Certainly. Of course. Certainly. Of course. For honor. Certainly. For honor. Of course. A sound plan. course. I'm here to help. Certainly. A sound plan. Of course. Certainly. Of course. A sound plan. Of course. Certainly. A sound plan. For honor. Of course. For honor. Of course. A sound plan. For honor. Foul. Of course. For honor. Of course. A sound plan. Of course. A sound plan.
Welcome to our village.
The light. I'm here to help. Certainly.
Hello.
Is there danger?
Welcome to our village.
Justice shall be done. Of course. A sound plan. Certainly. Of course. Certainly. For honor. A sound plan. Of course. You are past redemption.
Hello.
The light is my strength.
Greetings, my lord.
I'm here to help. A sound plan. For honor. The light is my strength. A sound plan.
Help me, please. I'm trapped in the cage.
I stand for the light. Certainly. Of course. Certainly. A sound plan. For honor. Feel my wrath. For my father, the king. It is finished.